My mother-in-law sabotaged my restaurant's opening night and paid people to make me fail, but her plan backfired when a famous food critic exposed her evil plot, and now she's facing criminal charges. My mother-in-law Diana, 58F, tried to destroy everything I, 32F, worked for during the opening night of my restaurant. I've been a chef for over a decade, working my way up from washing dishes to running kitchens at some of the best restaurants in our city. 3 years ago, I met my husband Mark, 34M, when he came in as a regular customer at the fine dining restaurant where I was head chef. He'd stop by twice a week, always requesting to be seated where he could see into the kitchen. We gradually started talking about food and cooking techniques. He grew up in an Italian family where cooking was everything, and he'd learned all his grandmother's recipes. After a month of him trying every new dish I created, he finally asked me out. His mother Diana never approved of me. She's one of those traditional women who believes a wife should give up her career to take care of her husband and home. The fact that I worked late nights and weekends as a chef was a constant source of criticism. She'd make snide comments about how Mark was wasting away because he had to cook for himself sometimes, completely ignoring that he actually enjoys cooking and we take turns making meals. Last year, I finally achieved my dream of opening my own restaurant. I'd saved every penny for years, even lived in a tiny studio apartment to cut costs. When an old Italian restaurant in a prime location went up for sale, I knew it was my chance. The building needed work, but the bones were good and the location was perfect. Mark was incredibly supportive, even offering to help with the renovation costs. But I wanted to do this on my own. I took out loans, used my savings, and even sold my car to make it happen. Diana was horrified when she found out. She told Mark he was foolish to let me risk our financial security on such a risky venture. She kept sending him listings for reasonable jobs I could take instead, like school cafeteria cook or catering assistant. The renovation took 6 months. I was at the restaurant every day, overseeing everything while still working my regular chef job. Mark would come by after his work to help paint or clean. Diana showed up unannounced several times, always finding something to criticize. The color scheme was too modern, the tables were too small, the menu was too fancy for the neighborhood. 2 weeks before opening night, Diana invited us to Sunday dinner. She spent the entire meal telling stories about failed restaurants and bankruptcy statistics. Then she made her move. She offered to help by buying into the restaurant as a partner. She said she talked to her friend who owned a small chain of family restaurants, and he agreed to mentor me if I'd change my contemporary Italian fusion concept to a traditional red sauce Italian menu. I politely declined, explaining that I had a clear vision for my restaurant. She got upset, saying I was too proud to accept help from family. The real kicker came when she told Mark she was just trying to protect the family's reputation since I'd be using his last name for the restaurant. I had to point out that I'd kept my maiden name and the restaurant was called Verona, not exactly a family name. Opening night was set for a Friday. We'd done a small friends and family service the night before, which went perfectly. The local food blog had done a write-up about the opening, and we were fully booked, 85 reservations for our 45-seat restaurant, split across 2 seatings. I'd hired an amazing team, including some former colleagues who believed in my vision. Our menu was a perfect blend of traditional Italian techniques with modern twists, and every dish had been tested and perfected over months of preparation. Everything was ready. I arrived at 10 a.m. to start prep, my stomach fluttering with excited nerves. The morning started smoothly, bread dough rising perfectly, sauces simmering, fresh pasta being rolled. The kitchen had that perfect energy of focused anticipation. Around noon, my sous chef Marco came running into my office, his face pale. There was a problem with the produce delivery. Our regular supplier claimed they never received our order for the week. I had the confirmation email on my phone showing the $1,200 order of specialty ingredients, but they insisted they had no record of it. This was devastating. We needed specific ingredients for our signature dishes, including hard-to-find items like fresh porcini mushrooms and specialty Italian greens. Mark dropped everything at his office to help me. We spent 3 frantic hours racing between local markets and restaurant supply stores, trying to cobble together substitutions. The cost was nearly double what we'd planned, and the quality wasn't what I wanted for opening night, but we had no choice. It set us back precious hours in prep time. My kitchen team was amazing though, everyone worked double speed to catch up. No complaints, just determined focus. Then at 3 p.m., disaster struck again. 3 of our most experienced servers called out sick within minutes of each other. They all had the same symptoms, severe stomach issues that started shortly after eating at the friends and family event the night before. Anthony, my head server, said they'd all eaten the staff meal together at a separate table. It seemed like too much of a coincidence, but I couldn't focus on that mystery. I had to find replacement servers immediately. I called in every favor I could, reaching out to former colleagues and friends in the industry. 2 servers from my old restaurant agreed to come help after their shifts ended, but that still left us short-staffed for the first seating. We had to reorganize the entire service plan, redrawing station maps, and adjusting responsibilities. Anthony stepped up amazingly, volunteering to handle a double section despite having to also manage the host stand. An hour before opening, while we were still training our replacement servers on the menu, our reservation manager discovered something terrifying. All the reservation confirmations had been marked as cancelled in our system. Someone had logged in and systematically cancelled every single booking.